Hey, how's it going? It's Spencer from My Tennessee Home Solution. Just a quick video today. We're going to talk through 3 easy tips for selling your property as is, right? So everybody knows you can list the property on the market. You can take it, you can do the repairs, you can do the painting, the heavy lifting, all the work, all the cleaning, all the everything. And it's a way. You know, plenty of people do that, and plenty of people choose to do it as is instead if they don't really want to deal with that. And then, of course, you know, once you got all that done, you got to list the property. That costs money. You got to get a realtor. That costs money. You got to let people wander through your house, go through your drawers, go through your closets. It's a little bit much, just for me. So, you know, we prefer buying and selling properties as is. So we buy all over the Middle Tennessee area, Nashville, Clarksville, Murfreesboro, everywhere in between. You know, we love it. It's our preferred market as is properties, and we find it makes it the easiest for you, makes it the easiest for us. It's easy. So we'll talk through 3 easy tips, right? So the first one, be reasonable, right? If your house has a giant hole in the roof, and you're probably not a good fit for the open market, probably you want to look for someone who wants to buy properties like that, or properties that need a little bit of work or a lot of work. So I think if there's plumbing issues, electrical issues, that kind of stuff, major issues, or sometimes even minor stuff, property has been remodeled in a while, property needs a little bit of TLC, right? You know, be reasonable. You know, just kind of look at the property as a whole, do an assessment, and be like, hey, is this something that I want to take on myself? Do I want to hire the contractors, drywallers, the plumbers, the electricians, etc., to get this all done, pull all the permits, get all that work done, or do I want to sell it as is, save myself all that headache? And so that takes us to the second one, right? Just be honest. So if, for instance, if you reach out to us and I come over and we're looking at the house together, don't hide stuff. You know, we already know we want to buy the property as is. We know it needs a little bit of love, a little bit of work here and there. It's always better, right, to be honest, to not hide issues or hide things, stuff like that from us. And, you know, we won't hide it from you. We'll be straight up with you the whole time. Our number 1 value is transparency for a reason. I just ask that you be honest, right? And I've also found that even if you don't do business with us, you do it somewhere else, you do it with a realtor, you do whatever, just being honest with kind of your approach, what you're looking for out of the property, what your, you know, what the property needs, what the property doesn't need, that kind of stuff, just kind of makes it a little easier for everybody. And so the third one is, you know, hey, be flexible, right? You know, there's a million different ways to do everything. There's 1,000 different ways to squeeze a lemon, right? And just kind of be flexible with it. Be like, hey, you know, maybe a 2-month timeline works a little better for me. And if I'm like, well, could you do 6-7 weeks? That's perfect for me, and maybe we find somewhere in the middle. Or the opposite, you're like, hey, you know, I think a month and a half, and I'm like, hey, why don't you take 2 months? You know, take your time, right? Just kind of being flexible. I've always found that those 3 things, right, being reasonable, being flexible, and being honest, are just kind of the 3 best tips. I do want to take a second to answer a couple of questions that I've gotten this week. So the first one, right, is how hard is it to sell your home by yourself? You know, 15, 20 years ago, it was pretty hard. It was a pretty complicated process. It was a bit of a struggle. But nowadays, it's really not. It would really just take one phone call. Give me a call, we'll talk through it, and we'll get it figured out. It's that easy. We'll come by in person, we'll do all that. You know, you understand our process. You've seen some of our other videos. You've maybe worked with us in the past. But it's a lot easier now than it used to be, for sure. The second one is, how can I make my house more valuable and sell faster? So a lot of it is doing, you know, major repairs. It's a house that doesn't need, for instance, a new roof is usually worth a little more than a house that does need a new roof. And that's kind of where you want to be reasonable, right? Like, hey, is this something that I want to do, that I can undertake, or is this something that I'd like someone else to? So that'll kind of help answer that question, right? And a house with the least issues will always sell fastest. So the more money you pour into the property, usually the quicker it'll sell. You just want to make sure that you're spending money on the right things. So in that, you know, fixing major things, not necessarily like building a deck if there's no foundation, that kind of stuff. And the third one is kind of an interesting one, is can I buy a new house before I sell my current house? The answer is yes. It's a free country, feel free. You can totally do that. What I would recommend, and this is what I recommend to all of our clients, is that at a minimum, before you go shopping for the new house, you should have a contract for the current house you live in. So what I always tell people is like, hey, why don't we can make an offer. If that works for you, we'll just set a longer closing timeline. So we'll say instead of closing in 2 weeks, we'll close in a month and a half. And that gives you 6 weeks to go look, find, and go under contract for that perfect property, because you already have a guarantee from me how much I'm going to pay you for your current property. And that way you're hunting for that new house with essentially a check in your back pocket already. You already know what your budget is going to be because you're guaranteed those funds from us. So I hope that was informative. I hope that was a good use of your time this morning. I really do appreciate you guys always tuning in to watch these vlogs. If you got any questions, comments, or concerns, right? Spencer here. Feel free to hit me up anytime. Just give us a call, and either myself, Jay, Nick, or one of our partners will give you a call back, and we'll get you on the right road. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.